because of 3 years of utter failure in diplomatic terms for the West. Now then we're at the terms where there's no good term for the Ukraine side. You can have a bad one right now, and there's no reason to pretend otherwise. It's bad what's on the table right now. But if you also reject this one, you almost surely condemn Ukraine to either complete military defeat, or you set the stage for the war to expand, and now then Europe is at war, and it'd be a continental-wide war. That's what you're playing with right now. You're not playing with peace. You know, the idea that that this coalition of the willing is strength is going to somehow scare Russia is something like a Harry Potter movie that you just get to write a script and wave a magic wand and poof, they're going to be like you want. That works in a movie where you get to write the script and you get to write what the other side does in response, and you can make your hero come up, and apparently Keir Starmer in this case, or Volodymyr Winston Churchill Zelensky. You can craft that on a piece of paper and say, yay, it works. And if you're rolling cameras, it works, except in real life. This isn't Hollywood. This is real life, and power dynamics matter. To his credit, in that press conference, he had one of the British reporters actually stood up, kind of scratched his head and said, I got a question.
I'm struggling to work out what the coalition of the willing actually does on the ground. As far as I understand it, UK troops couldn't fire at Russian troops. If Russian troops opened fire, we couldn't retaliate, and nor could anybody else, because of what that would provoke. So is it just some kind of slightly more tepid training mission in reality?
The operational meeting is where the discussions are taking place as to what the capabilities will be. I've indicated a willingness for the United Kingdom to play a leading role in this, and indicated that if it's necessary, that will be troops on the ground and planes in the sky. There are different capabilities from different countries, but those are the operational discussions that are going on in relation to what this coalition of the willing will be able to provide. And therefore, it's in all of our interest to make sure the security arrangements are robust enough to defend the deal and to hold the peace. Otherwise, we'll repeat the history of recent years where Putin will breach the line again.
He's proposing a military force, not like, say, UN peacekeepers, where they wear blue helmets and they carry a rifle for self-defense, but they're there to monitor the peace. Those are peacekeepers. He's talking about peace enforcers, to where they would have a military capacity to punish Russia. That's why boots on the ground, planes in the air. So he's basically saying offensive force. What Starmer is describing there is that he wants to move a 37-member coalition into Ukraine to patrol whatever this mythical border is that's going to be agreed to by Russia. And if Russia doesn't agree to it, as he says this time, then we'll be there to militarily prevent it. That's what he's saying. That's exactly what he's drawing right there. So this reporter asked a rhetorical question, which the answer should have been self-evident. He kind of laid it out there. Is this basically just kind of glorified training mission? Implying, because obviously we're not going to move our troops into potential for harm's way into Russia, right? Except Starmer seemed to go, we're going to do that. We're going to put them on the line of demarcation. Couple things for the audience who may not be aware of it in Starmer's view there. For even that version to exist, there has to be a peace agreed to. There has to be lines agreed to, and then and only then would these peace enforcers be allowed in the country. That's just even theoretical. So work with me here. Let's go down the thought process here, because unfortunately for Keir Starmer and apparently all of his allies in Europe and all these other 36 members, there is another side to this story. There are two sides to the equation, the other side being the Russian Federation. So in your mind, come up with some kind of rational reason why the Russian side, from its position right now, its superiority in the air, its superiority in air defense, its superiority in manpower, its superiority in defense acquisition capabilities, and its strong continuing military supply allies in Iran and North Korea. all the things that they need, plus everything they can do domestically, which by themselves outpaces everything the Ukraine side can do. So from that position, with those inputs here, explain to me how it is that you're going to get Russia to agree to this. Because if you don't, there won't be one troop come in there. And I've shown you several clips in recent week shows to where the Russian sides have categorically rejected this idea. I think we showed you Sergei Lavrov just 2 days ago, where he said, under no circumstances would we allow that. No matter what flag you want to use, no matter what patch you want to put on, categorically, there will be no NATO troops in part of any of this. And if they do, other officials have said elsewhere, then we will consider them as simple combatants in the war zone, and we'll kill them as much as we kill Ukrainians in the fight too. So then by definition, you'll be expanding the war. And let me just tell you that if anybody's confused on this point, if there ever is a clash between a NATO member and Russia, they're not going to keep the fight inside the borders of Ukraine. They'll not merely attack those folks, because now then you will have the physical insertion of foreign troops of whatever country it would happen to be in that hypothetical case. And Russia has said plenty of times that they will have no qualms then with retaliating in kind. That's something that's been part of the Russian diplomatic DNA forever, the tit for tat. You do this, we do likewise in kind. They say that openly. That's not even something you have to interpret. They say it openly. So there seems to be no possibility that this will even manifest itself, because the Russian side categorically won't agree to it. And I don't know why anyone would have in their mind that Russia would, from a position of strength, agree to something that would only help the other side and would leave every single one of what the Russians can view as the root causes of the war still fully alive. Because it will be there will still be the possibility of a military alliance. In fact, there will be a de facto military alliance from NATO, not even a theoretical, but a de facto one. It will mean that they would not demilitarize because their military would increase. And it would mean that they're not going to change their constitution. They wouldn't be protecting any of the Russian people. All the laws that are against them would still be on the books. In other words, everything that Russia went to war to prevent would be solidified and set in concrete. So what rational person on the West, God, please, Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, at least go through this and say this out loud so that your brain can make these connections. If Russia was not willing to accept any of those terms in February 2022, and then they have now captured 20 some odd % of Ukraine, they have the capacity now to continue going forward and over time grind the Ukraine army to dust, and then by force of arms accomplish the things that they are trying to do in negotiations right now. Upon what rational basis would you suggest that they will accept your vision of how this can turn out? You see the vast gulf that's growing between the reality of what's on the ground and the vision of those in the West. And if you keep basing your actions on this fantasy vision of the West, then you see that you increase the chances of war. You increase the chances that there is a fight between the West and Russia. You increase the chances that there is going to be the very real possibility of a nuclear exchange. And then, folks, once that happens, I won't even project beyond that, because the minute one tactical nuclear weapon even is used anywhere by any side, the world that we know it comes to an end. That's not necessarily to say that would automatically lead to mutual assured destruction, but the way that we think about our world and the relative stability that exists right now will be over forever. And no one can say what would be on the other side of that, except that it would be terrifying and it would be constant stress and pressure. That's not a world I want to live in, and a world we can avoid. Starmer and all these people keep saying that this is going to help everybody in the West, that this is going to make our lives better and more secure, and all it's doing is undermining it, because it's built on a faulty foundation.